Okay, yeah, hi. Again, we both just logged on. I just got here like literally a minute before you.
Okay, good. I was like, I gotta
All of
find
my
the link
neighbors,
again.
I literally think all of my neighbors are mowing. Chris like
Love
left the
that.
house with both kids. I was like, oh, I could do this downstairs. No, it's so loud.
Yep.
That's what happens on Sunday. Martine's here. Hello,
Hello,
Martine.
hello.
We are here for the Shelf This Book Club for the month of May,
Hey, yes, crazy.
which Rylan chose. Is this your third time choosing, I think?
I
Or are
think
we
it's
getting
my second time. I think the first time I chose was true crime. Um,
you chose
did I do something else? I don't remember if
What
I
the
did.
Dead Knows. Right? Is that the right one?
I
No?
did. It was the
The
serial
Michelle
killer one
Tomorrow one. I'll Be
by
Gone in the Dark.
Michelle. That one. I think that's the only one I've chosen.
Okay.
So yes.
I was excited that you picked a thriller. Oh, Danielle's here too.
Hello.
Because I've been in a thriller mood and have like had
Mm-hmm.
no reason to be able. I can read whatever I want. To be able to read. So it was a good reminder of a genre that I like and want to read.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I feel like the book club doesn't tend to gravitate toward that genre. And
no.
I pretty much only read thrillers. And
Yes.
this one has been on my shelf for forever. And I was like, why
I love
not? The ratings aren't great, but we're going
I
to try it out because I've had it. So,
I try to like when I have the grouping of 3 people to get like 3 people that I think will choose like different type of stuff. So
yeah.
it's not like, oh, 3 historicals in a row or 3, but
Yeah.
then people throw me curveballs. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna switch it up. Okay. Let's talk about what we rated it.
Okay.
Or should I pitch the book maybe just a little bit at least?
Sure. I'm
It is
curious to see how
a
you
we read
pitch
oh
it.
yeah. We read what's it called? I always want to call it wrong. With My Little Eye by Joshilyn Jackson, which is essentially a stalker mystery thriller. Our main character, Maribel, believes she's getting stalked, or like she is getting like weird things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Believes she's getting stalked, so she moves across the country. She's also like an actress,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a who's stalking her, why are they stalking her? She also has like a teenage daughter situation.
Yeah. But also there's like a whole nother plot where it's following this man who lives in her building who
Yeah.
does some shady things that he's very secretive about, but like has this good guy persona. So
Yeah.
you kind of get like two different storylines, I feel like, in this
This
one.
is
And yeah.
yeah, it was a very jumbled plot line in my brain, like as
Yeah.
everything's happening. I also always like to mention when I listened on audiobook, and I did listen to this on audiobook because I didn't have access to the ebook through my library. I only had access to
Yeah.
the audiobook, and I do generally struggle more with audio.
With
So
audio. Yeah. No,
I'll
that's
just put
fair.
it out there before we
Yeah. No, very
else
fair.
is here. Okay, ratings. Martine gave it 3, Danielle gave it 2. We
Nice.
already knew that. I gave it like a 2.5.
Okay. I gave it 3 stars. So like very middle of the road
Yeah, it was just kind of
for
like a
me.
mid. I didn't think anything was like bad. It was just kind of slow and jumbled. To me, the
Yeah.
beginning was really like what's even going on? Like where are we going with this? And then the end stuff started to happen, but I felt like then we left behind a lot of like plot points.
Yeah. I feel like this is a book that I didn't feel the need to think super hard about it. I kind of just when it comes to thrillers, I'm okay with unlikable characters. I'm okay a lot of times with like drama for the sake of drama. Like I kind of
Mhm.
like I pick up a thriller a lot of times for that aspect.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the case in this book. I do think it was a little bit chaotic, and that's why I didn't enjoy it like as much as I could have if
Yeah.
we had focused more on one plot line versus the other.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Cooper's story by himself or like
Okay.
Maribel's story by herself
Mhm.
could have been super fascinating, especially with that
Yeah.
daughter element.
Yeah.
But I think altogether it was like a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think like for a lot of it, I was just like, we're not focused anywhere. I do like
Yeah.
what you said about like an unlikable character. I think the very first time that I get Cam and Cooper mixed up. So you're
Cooper
saying
is Cooper is the neighbor.
okay, the first time we got like the male POV, which was the actual like stalker, I think. I was like, "Oh, okay, we're really going for unlikable here." I said something in, like,
Yeah.
the Discord chat, like,
Yeah.
we were doubling down on, like, whoever's doing this
Yeah.
is a
I
bad
think
person.
yeah. Well, because that POV is not Cooper's POV, because we get
No,
Cooper's POV
that has to
and the
actually
stalker
be
POV.
yeah,
And
that has to
yeah.
actually be the stalker.
Yeah. Because I was curious. I didn't know if the stalker was going to be somebody who's like revealed, like,
To be somebody that we're also getting a perspective from.
yeah, or like to be somebody that like we actually know. We don't really know. Like, I feel like the stalker aspect is so unrelated. Like, his character is so distanced from the rest of the story
Yeah.
that like I don't even know if I needed her
I
to be
would have
stalked.
been
Or I would have guessed it was
personally,
somebody else.
what I like more in a thriller would have for it to have been someone who was a little more connected to the rest of
Yeah. Like if it was
what's going
Cam
on here.
or something.
Yeah.
Like that would have been interesting because like you could have hidden that perspective and not told us that it was him. Like the reveal would have been crazy if he like been connected more, I think, to Maribel. I had an issue with that. Like I didn't understand. It wasn't as fascinating to me because he was so disconnected. And the only time she ever sees him in the book is at the water park or whatever. And like he's like a teenager. Like that didn't make sense to me either. That was really weird. Like you're telling me this like really young, scrawny guy who's like who like the descriptions are he's like 18 or something in the book. It
Well,
seemed
and I
like.
was still just how everything played out, I was just a little bit like, we could have done more here because with him being a
Yeah.
teenager, but then still in the end, he does attack Maribel,
Yes.
where I'm like, but
Yeah.
the teenage girls are all
Yeah.
stuff is
Yeah. There was a
happening.
lot happening.
Okay. Elsa said she didn't read it and doesn't think she will.
No, it's yeah, I don't blame you, honestly.
That POV also drove me crazy because we never found out why they were killing other people
Yeah.
along the way. Why was that extra woman there in the end? I thought that too, like, because we're only getting the focus story on the people we're focusing on, and then it's like, oh, but he has this other girl with us also.
Yeah. And I think she was the waitress that he mentions at the beginning,
Oh,
I think, because it talked about like
I
her uniform at one point or something.
oh, that
I
went over my
think
head then.
I'm pretty sure. I think he killed some of the people on his way to Georgia, but I
Okay.
think he also kidnapped one of them because I think they like comment on like her waitress outfit or something when she was like in the RV. I
Oh.
could be lying though.
No, Danielle said that
Okay.
she thought that also. That went over my head.
It could have been made clearer though.
I think the only element I liked was the mother-daughter parts, but I disliked Maribel in a way that did impact my reading experience. It also felt quite forgettable, unfortunately. I do
Yeah.
think, like, thrillers can tend to be that way if it's not, like, a really complex thriller, and you said
Mhm.
something too about, like, you just came to read it and, like, move on, but, like, that's kinda how I was approaching this, like,
Yeah.
to come, read it, hopefully it's a good time and move on, not like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is gonna be profound," and, like, I love
Yeah.
reading stuff like that sometimes, though.
Yeah.
Both in romance and thriller, sometimes it's like, "Okay, this isn't gonna be the greatest love story I've ever read, but, like, I'm gonna have
Yeah.
fun while I'm here."
It's
Or,
fun.
like,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's like a good reminder, like maybe not this book specifically, like reading for that is like a good reminder that it doesn't have to be so serious all the
Oh,
time. Like you're allowed to enjoy something just to enjoy it.
right,
And like you don't have to think fiction, you don't have to think too hard about every single book you read. Like
right.
I didn't take it seriously and it was quick and it was fine. It was fun at times, but like yeah, I didn't walk away like I'm gonna remember this book for the rest of my life. I'm probably
Yeah.
gonna unhaul it next week. So like like it was fine.
Did you read it with your eyes?
I read
Or did
it
you
with
listen?
my eyeballs, with my ears, and on my Kindle because I was traveling partially while I was reading it. So I started here, switched to ebook so I can travel easier, and then I found the audiobook also. So I did all three.
'Cause I saw 2, which, like, in the audiobook is a little bit more obvious that, because I read some reviews, that the switching of POVs also is not labeled in the physical book. And so it was hard for people who were, like, reading it with their eyes to, like,
Yeah.
sometimes tell who was like, what POV they were in.
Yeah, it's definitely not labeled in here. I think that probably helped them in terms of the audiobook being different voices.
Well, and to me, too, that lends sorry, I'm gonna, like, switch my sitting position quick. Um, lends to me, I would have thought much more throughout that it was going to be a situation where like Cam and the stalker were the same person because nothing's
Yeah.
labeled. Um,
Yeah.
so I think like that's the main thing I didn't enjoy is I do like a little bit of like breadcrumbs, like you could have figured this out
Mhm.
if you were paying attention to
Yeah.
details, and I didn't feel like the actual answer was like
Yeah.
we weren't really being led there. Although
Yeah.
it is like truly she did just have like this stalker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I felt like no labels was purposeful. But then like for what reason?
Yeah.
And I was never confused when we were supposed to know who's talking. Okay, good
Well,
to
that's
know.
good. I mean, I wasn't confused either, but also I think the audiobook and the voices
Yeah.
helped with that. I think what kind of threw me off is that there were some points, like we start off with like I think just Maribel's POV and the stalker POV, and then we slowly start adding like more and
Yeah.
more. And I think at one point like we're following um what's the girl, the sister of the girl that Cooper killed, Thena or whatever her name is. We
Okay.
have her POV at one point, I think. We have don't we have Sheila's or whatever that other teenage
Yeah.
girl's name is? We have like 7 or 8,
Well,
I
a
think,
lot
POVs
thrown in.
that aren't that were only thrown in for a couple pages maybe,
Yeah.
whereas we mostly focused on just Maribel and Cooper. Maybe that would have also helped. I don't know. Although I did really enjoy the daughter's perspective. I
Yeah,
think her chapters are probably my favorite.
I wanted to say that. I thought like the whole like especially when Honor and Sheila first met and like I enjoyed their interaction and like
Mhm.
building a friendship because at first because we know Sheila is the daughter of the ex.
Yeah.
Is that a following sentence? Sure. Um like a little skeptical of the girls meeting that I thought she was definitely going to be like way mean girl like doing
Yeah.
something shady, but it never really was that.
Yeah.
So that it could have been someone else we were following. Yeah.
I love a good serial killer story personally. I mean, like I eat that stuff up
Yeah.
when it's fiction a lot of times. Um, but I don't think for me, I it wasn't one that I'm going to like add to my list of like top serial killer books. I don't think
No.
to me, I was more interested personally. I people can also like add like what points they were most interested in, like what plot perspectives they were most interested in. But I think I was more fascinated by Cooper being a serial killer, maybe, and killing all the teenage girls of like the exes that he
Mhm.
had, like who he thought were like doing bad things and like deserved what they got or whatever. I
Yeah.
think from that serial killing aspect, like that could have been really like dark and really interesting, and that made him a very fascinating character, whereas like the actual serial killer that we follow just felt very bland and like out of nowhere to
Yeah, I
me.
feel like she could have done a lot more. It's almost to me one of those where it's like, okay, her starting concept versus like the execution of what actually happened in the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
I did see a lot of reviews saying that like people love her other books.
Yeah, I
Uh,
only know her from
like this
her
may
other
be her
thriller.
least popular. Yeah.
Because I know I haven't read her other books, but I saw Never Have I Ever when it came out, which is like a game, like a thriller, like with like the Never Have I Ever game involved in it. So I haven't heard anything about her other books actually.
I just pulled up like her author profile to see if I recognize any of these. I don't really think I do, but even that one doesn't have a very high rating. Never Have I Ever is definitely her most popular.
Yeah. Her book Almost Sisters, probably one of her oldest books, has pretty good ratings. The Almost
Okay,
Sisters,
yeah, I see
yeah.
that one too.
Yeah.
She has quite a few books.
Well, and I feel like thrillers, and it's just a part of the genre, they're a hit or miss. I feel
Uh,
like people have either really like strong like people like for the silent patient, people either love that
Oh,
book or they like hate it, you know?
mhm.
Like, and I think that makes the reviews like really polarizing a lot of times. And I don't know if that's how her books are in general or if it's just like this one specifically, but it seems like people like either, I don't
Um,
know, one
I
way
think
or the other.
I think of, like, Sherry Lapina, 'cause I do
Yeah.
like a lot of Sherry Lapinas, but they're very, like, simple,
Yeah.
um, versus, like, Riley Sager, I think is a little bit more, like, complex.
Yeah.
Like, I would compare this more to something that's, like, a simple, it is what it is while you read it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I just think getting a character who's doing something that we've actually been following through the book is always gonna be more interesting
Yeah.
than the random.
Well, I think it's really dark, especially as he's targeting. I mean, there's a mention in the book where he's like, if Honor turns out like her, like I won't hesitate to add her to my list
Mm,
next, or something
mhm,
like that. He has
yeah,
like that quick like thought, like, oh, she will be next if she, turns into a bad teenager or
yeah.
whatever, which I think would have been, I don't know, I think that element of the book would have been super fascinating to explore more. Just erase all the other stuff and and
Right.
try that route.
The reveal was there was no reveal about the actual main plot. I also feel like the end was a little cliffhangery, like, we coulda used another chapter or so of, like, reunion, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
That may have just been
Honestly,
my audiobook abruptly ending while I was in the grocery store, but I was like, "Oh,
yeah.
okay." Like, we got 'em, we're done, we're good, book over.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't even remember the ending if I'm being honest. I'm really bad about that though in general, but with this book especially, it's not something that I recall reading.
It was like,
She gets
basically,
back.
they find her and she says, like, "Oh, there's another girl," and then the book ends.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, she's like, "Get the other girl," and then it's, like, over.
Yeah.
If
I
I'm
mean,
remembering correctly also.
yeah, yeah, because I mean, she's at the camper when the book ends. Okay, she's on the phone with Honor. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for thrillers, it also makes sense to not wrap up like
Yeah.
in a bow, but also it's like you have to find the balance between not wrapping it up like so nicely and like leaving it
I would've
like
liked,
just dropping it, you
like,
know?
a 5-page wrap up of, like, Maribel and Honor
Yeah.
talking about everything that they've both been doing. Like, we
Yeah.
never get Maribel super getting how much shady stuff Honor's been, like,
Yeah.
sneaking around doing. Like, I woulda liked a little
Yeah.
bit of that.
Yeah. Especially
Um,
because she's only 13, 12, turning
13.
13 in the whole
Yeah,
book. Yeah. Yeah. I think you get to touch on that mother-daughter relationship, which I think is very interesting to explore, but I don't think the it gets fulfilled in the end, like all the way.
yeah,
Especially since that, I mean, is a huge part of the plot.
yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, the ending, I'm not saying I needed 50 more pages, I'm saying I needed, like, a couple
5,
lines
yeah.
of dialogue
Yeah.
I
Well,
would've
especially
liked.
because if you're looking at this from two storylines, one being Cooper and one being Maribel, Cooper's, I mean, he just which girl actually pushes him off the balcony? Like I know Honor does, but he doesn't fall the first time. So like does
Yeah,
somebody else pushes him off when Cam is watching it happen, or either that or Honor does it again. So like we don't even like get to see what happens, I don't think, with his person and like how his story like
yeah,
actually ends up ending, you know?
like, it's just over, right.
Yeah, like it's just and we watch that ending from Cam's perspective versus like Honor who's like actually there when it happens, you know. So
Yeah.
okay, they all push him
Oh, yeah.
together, Martine says. I definitely did not catch that.
Yeah, I'll put them together.
Which makes sense. I mean, yeah.
Group effort. We need more endings that's just a 2-sentence montage of the rest of each character's life like a
Yeah.
traditional film.
All books are required to have that now.
Right, like, why did we not get, I don't know. For how slow the beginning was and then for stuff to finally like,
Yeah.
happen and not get, again, like, just these little moments we've talked about is, the pages could have been used more wisely.
Yeah.
I mean, overall though, I definitely am not like, "Oh, that was bad." Like, that
Yeah.
was a fine time.
Yeah. I mean, like I feel like I'm a pretty critical rater. Like I don't give
Mm,
books
mhm.
5 stars.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for going into it, like I didn't expect like there are some thrillers like where just based off hype or based off like my experience with the authors, like I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so good. And like my
Mm,
expectation
mhm.
is like up here. My expectation for this one, just based off the reviews and not having read anything, was like pretty middle of the road.
Yeah,
And like I was just hoping to have a fun have a fun time with it with, and
yeah.
it was
I
an
feel like
easy read for
I'm
me, so
I'm in, like, a book club slump just because I feel like I've been reading a lot of book club books that I find mid, so then it's just like
mhm.
the 2.5 has not been bad to my normal book club rating
Yeah,
lately. It's something I didn't choose
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
Also, so many of the times she thought it was the stalker, it was Xena.
yeah. So what did the stalker really do? Yeah, because
Yeah,
she's the one who
true.
broke into the apartment, to Cooper's apartment.
I did like that reveal that she was
Yeah.
like, "That was
Yeah,
me."
the fact that she was the sister of one of the girls that he had killed, actually, I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
Um, Again, I think that could have been a story all on its own.
Also, though, like, Maribel being so like, the girls hiding the fact that they were talking to this homeless girl.
Yeah. Say not having a great watch on your
No.
12-year-old daughter in the middle of a huge like in the middle of a huge city in a high-rise apartment and in a part of town that is like not the best because that's mentioned several times. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
She was watching them in the coffee shop too. Get rid of Maribel, make this Cooper's
I
story.
agree. I mean, honestly, I think Cooper's sections were the most interesting. And
I do
I mean,
think
Honor was good too from the mother-daughter perspective, but like
yeah, I do think there was just something, like, not quite right about, like, the connection of all the characters.
yeah.
Maybe it was Maribel was the issue. Even though she
Yeah.
was, like, the connecting person, she was, like, the least interesting part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I feel like she was the least exciting POV that I wanted to follow.
I didn't
I
feel like
didn't care
she
about
was
hers as
actively, like,
much.
figuring anything out. Like, it sometimes
Yeah.
felt like, Honor was, like, working towards
Yeah.
stuff by sneaking around and yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm not against like a quote unquote romantic subplot in thrillers, but I don't when it doesn't like play an actual purpose. I don't think her fascinations with like Cam and like all like that whole relationship, like for me, it didn't play a part in like it wasn't interesting to me. Like I didn't
Yeah,
care about it. And I thought it was there just for like pardon my words, but like sex for the sake of sex and thrillers. Like
yeah,
I don't need that and I don't want that. And I feel like in here, like it was kind of focused on too
it was
much at
kinda there for no
times.
reason.
Yeah.
Um, that reminded me too, I wanted to say, I usually do not care at all about, like which is also why I keep saying I think the was so slow and boring. I don't care at all about, like, actors, actresses, and
Yeah.
we were getting a lot of, like these
Yeah.
events where she has to go to
Her
work,
her
like,
background,
the
yeah.
lifestyle isn't interesting to me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One, I don't know if I can pinpoint a purpose for such in-depth scenes about her past.
Yeah.
Like, minus, like, getting the fame and, like but, like, there were some, like, pretty descriptive, like, scenes about, like, the parties she would go to or, like,
Yeah.
the things with her agent that if they related to her stalker in some capacity, then maybe okay, but I don't
Right,
know if they
why
actually related at all.
yeah, it's a jumble. I Danielle, I know listen to the audiobook also, and apparently the audiobook narrator that, like, was Maribel was the author narrating.
Oh, really?
It
Awkward.
was like a full cast
It was a full cast.
audiobook, but Maribel was the author, which is just like, oof.
Oh, I did not know. I did not know that.
The random references to a '90s sitcom side character got on my nerves. The first few were
Yeah.
fine. Right, like, they're just really trying to I'm pretty sure that what I said is true, as
I'm
Danielle
looking it
said.
up.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. Let's see. Narrator, yeah. I mean, Joshilyn Jackson is one of the narrators. There's six people who narrate, and she is listed as one of them, which I think that's fun. I mean, it's tough that she probably
I do, but like
narrated
if her voice
the
doesn't fit,
worst
it doesn't fit, and it just
Yeah.
really didn't.
Yeah.
Like I think she has a very like kind of an older woman's voice.
Yeah.
And I think that Maribel as a character, as a more like whimsical young woman's voice,
Yeah.
would have clicked a little more. I don't
That
know.
makes a lot of sense actually, because I have a hard time. I didn't know that I had this problem until like I listened to an audiobook a few months ago, but like the voices can bother me if I feel like
Oh
they
yeah.
don't fit the character that they're reading. So that actually makes a lot of sense. I still think that she's unlikable. Maribel is. But I don't think her voice,
I think
the
like
author's
somebody's
voice fit her character.
tone like does affect a lot about like how you perceive what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying of
Yeah.
like it sounded almost a little bit more like an older woman.
Yeah.
And I think a younger sounding.
Yeah. I had not realized that, but that makes a lot of sense actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much other thoughts than that. It was like a
I'm just
mid
yeah.
thriller that happened.
Yeah.
This
I'm just here for the ride, honestly.
I cannot listen to dual POV romance audiobooks.
I don't want actual real men involved. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
fair. I didn't realize the audiobooks got to me that much until I like found a voice that I did not like, and I was like,
I
oh,
really struggle with audiobooks.
yeah.
I can do
Do,
nonfiction really well. That to me is just like, oh, it's more like a podcast.
yeah.
But even like what Martine's saying about like romance on audio just seems like reading a sex scene. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, like it works. Hearing it in my ears, I'm like,
Yeah.
this is the cheesiest,
Yeah.
worst thing I've ever heard. And same with like thrillers. I just think that the like reveals are less punchy.
Yeah.
Something with my brain processing, I'm sure, but
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah.
all right. Any other final thoughts? This was fun. I like the genre switch up. I
Yeah.
know I have the next 3 book club ones picked out, and it's a good mixed set.
Oh,
So
good. Yeah, I'm
um,
always here to mix things up. So
I have them, so I just need probably like this Friday I'll film the announcement for the next 3, which there's no book in June, so they'll be July, August, and September.
cool.
And it's fun.
And now that I'm actually done with school, I'm like, I'm gonna get back into because like
I
I've been
feel like we're
neglecting like
both.
everything.
I was gonna say, but
So
we both got here so last minute.
yeah,
Like
I'm
I've
just
been
happy
so
to be
busy,
here.
and I feel like I'm just coming out of it. Like I'm hoping to get some videos posted up.
Yeah.
Lizzie's doing Wonderthon, which is coming up, which is a big readathon that I captain and participate in. So
Yeah.
we've got good reading stuff coming. So I'm hoping that I'm about to be back in my groove. I also canceled my we use Hulu Live. Like I canceled my TV for like this upcoming month because I'm like I
Yeah.
need to watch YouTube.
Yeah.
So
Get back into
hopefully
things. Yeah.
everybody's about to see me around
I love
again.
it.
But
I love it.
all right. Well, this was fun. Thank you for picking
Yeah.
again. I feel like
Yeah,
I
I
picked
thank you for
another one.
having
I'm gonna
me.
have to go look. I feel like this was your third, but I might be making that up.
I have no idea. All I remember is the true crime
Oh
one.
look. Oh
Yeah,
look.
you'll have to let me know. And yeah, I'm gonna try to get back
I
into the
think
swing
it's
of
like a
things in general.
romance, but I don't know.
Maybe it's Stasia. Maybe Stasia and I are the same person, so maybe you're
No, you're
confusing
not.
us.
Okay.
Because she would pick a romance. I don't know. Maybe I did though. I just don't remember.
Oh look. I have the spreadsheet.
Okay.
All right. All right. Bye, friends. Thanks for chatting with us.
Bye.
Happy Sunday.